Every Ultimate Masters cartridge contains very top secret information, and by using one of the various methods to dump a Game Boy Advance cartridge, we can actually extract the ROM file in a digital format, which allows us to work with the game data in a more intimate way. One of the simplest things you can do is look at the ROM with a hex viewer or hex editor. This more or less organizes the information in the ROM into hex format, and on the left here you can see the location, in the middle here you can see the values at these locations, and over here on the right is a representation of what these hex values equal to. Most of this is mumbled garbage, but you can see here where it says Yu-Gi-Oh! WTC06. The Y is made up from the 59, the U is made from the 55, the G from the 47, and so on. And scrolling through this data, you're going to see many instances of readable lines of text, but somewhere near the end is a very interesting piece of information. Here we have a section with text written in the form of raw code, and this code refers to 8 specific files. The first being the true starter deck, and the next 6 are the structure decks available to choose on the first day of the game. But there's actually a 7th structure deck listed here that is nowhere to be found inside the game in the final product. It was given the name Ganseki, which roughly translates to rock, and would represent the 7th structure deck Invincible Fortress, which was released after Spellcaster's Judgment. And judging from the context of this code, it would be a 7th starting deck option that you could choose for this game. While the structure deck was available in the OCG before Ultimate Masters release, we wouldn't get it in the TCG until 6 months later in May 2006, a full 2 months after the release of the game. This cut might have been to preserve hype for the physical product, or there might have been earlier plans to have it unlocked after reaching 100%, or it was just a last-minute design choice. Either way, we do have access to all of the exclusive cards printed in this structure deck, and have everything we need to set it up for the first day. So I busted out my elite hackerman skills and crafted a unique save file with the secret starting deck equipped, a normal trunk, and 3000 DP in order to give myself the full playthrough experience. And as always, that means it's time to go over the card pool. Some of the strongest cards here are the Earth support cards like Giant Rat and Gigantes that will keep the board healthy and are probably going to carry the deck through most of the duels. Medusa Worm and Golem Sentry are also insane if they can get going. There's some really sick tech cards like Ectoplasmer, Maharaguri, and Robin Goblin, which have incredible value potential for this type of defensive deck. And a quick honorable mention goes to Megarok Dragon for its versatility as a late game closer or as a quick special summon monster to turbo out a tribute. In terms of the spells and traps, after cutting the Shield and Swords and Shifting Shadows, this list is going to look a lot cleaner. The 2 Magic Drains are incredible day 1 options, and we also have 2 compulsory evacuation devices, which is super nice and also a good time to bring in the trunk because we get a 3rd compulsory evacuation device. A 2nd Brain Control will give this deck a lot of tools to control the board, and as always, we're going to use the Tribute to the Doomed, Fissure, and Sakuretsu armor. So we're going to have a ton of removal to work with, and we're even going to use the Magic Cylinder and Dust Tornado, as it's probably better than some of the other cards in the deck. Lastly, the Rock deck doesn't have a Heavy Storm, so we are going to use that as well. And when it comes to the day 1 packs for this deck, it's another tricky one just like the Water deck, because there's a ton of great Rock cards that aren't available on the first day. This means we won't have the option of getting Granmarg the Rock Monarch, or additional copies of Golem Sentry, Medusa Worm, and Megarok Dragon. So that really only leaves us with 2 strong day 1 pack options. The first main option I'd recommend is Pharaonic Guardian, which can allow us to get extra copies of Guardian Sphinx and include some very strong cards like Book of Moon, Deslakuta, Gravekeeper Spy, Spirit Reaper, and Needle Sealing. This will give you enough control tools to be able to stick around for a long time, and a reliable finisher to break through your opponent's board and win the game. So certainly Pharaonic Guardian is a top tier choice. The other main option you could go for is to pursue a much more tempo-based strategy. Ancient Sanctuary is the last pack we can buy and contains one of the best rock cards, Legendary Jujutsu Master. I mean, seriously, check this dude's resume. He was found in top lists from 2005 and stayed relevant for 7 years until 2012. So introducing him would be kind of an insult. So I'd pretty much look for 2 of these guys, and if you're really lucky, you might get a Zaborg, Knight Assailant, or another copy of Stone Statue of the Aztecs, which will fit really nicely into the deck if you get any of them. Both of these options will yield a really cool rock control deck, and I've included some examples of what the day 1 deck would look like after day 1 packs and a few upgraded cards. A Guardian Sphinx control deck can benefit a lot from Guardian support cards like Arsenal Summoner and a copy of Guardian of the Throne Room for a nice little option select. Then after that, it would start to acquire cards that synergize well with flip effect monsters like Tsukuyomi and Knight Assailant. A more tempo-based deck with Legendary Jujutsu Master could start investing into Monarch cards like Grand Marg before investing into things like Soul Exchange, Gravekeeper's Spy, and Gravekeeper's Guard. However, as you start to build a more optimized deck list, you will drop more and more of the rock-based support. Guardian Sphinx will start to play a less crucial role as a finisher and will be more of a secondary boss monster behind Blackluster Soldier and Chaos Sorcerer. This Chaos Guardian hybrid deck placed very well this past year in a GOAT format tournament and is around the peak of what the Sphinx deck can be built into. The Jujutsu Monarch deck will start to replace many of the support cards like Gigantes and Giant Rat with straight up better value options like Cyber Dragon and Treeborn Frog. I mostly try to keep things GOAT format related, but since this structure deck was released after Cybernetic Revolution, I decided to include this top placing deck list from 2007, where Legendary Jujutsu Master and Cyber Dragon appeared in a ton of top placing Monarch deck lists during this time, and was even seen next to things like Hydrogeddon and Card Trooper as just a really solid 4-star level monster. On a side note, there are also quite a few rock cards in a Pac-Man style deck, but I decided to leave this one out of the main upgrade options as this strategy mostly relies on continuous protection spells like Level Limit Area B, Gravity Bind, and Wall of Revealing Light. Without these expensive stall cards, Medusa Worm and Golem Sentry will struggle to stay on the board. But this is certainly a top tier option once you're DP rich, because this is a deck list I found that took first place at a GOAT format tournament this past year, so it should certainly be on your radar. So that's pretty much what life would look like if we had a 7 starting deck option. I'll include some information in the description on how to set this up so you can play through with it yourself. Also, if you're into this sort of content, help a brother get to 2,000 subscribers, I'll do anything you want. Anything.
Fuckboy Productions coming at you with another opening.